Welcome. Welcome, everyone. Here's to another gathering in the nowhere land, gathering here. Before we step into the talk today, let's just arrive here, wherever the mind might be right now. Some things that it was doing before coming here, some things that it has to do after this, or some things that it has brought with itself as questions or queries or doubts, looking for them to be answered. Any aches and pains in the body, any tiredness, nervousness, excitement, anything that might be a part of the content of experience here, just letting it as it is, exactly as it is. No tampering needed. No need to tone it down, no need to turn it up. Just letting it be. And just arriving here where you are already, without any agenda. Let's put our agendas within that content also. There's no need to put them down because that may take some effort, and no effort is needed in this here-ness that you are, where you are. And even being here, let's be aware, if possible, to not make it an agenda. It's not something to do. It's not something to achieve. And when the word arriving here is used, it's not that we're not here and arriving implies that from somewhere to here. That's just how language works. We're not covering any distance in being what we are. Letting the content of experience be may allow space within the field of perception, which is again a part of the content, and may obviously become aware of the vastness within which the content is playing. Just rest in that vastness for this moment. Let's not yearn or long for it to be permanent, for it to never go away. It can not go away. As you rest here, it can be confirmed that it is what is always here. The content morphs, comes and goes, but this cannot leave. So a desire for it to become a permanent experience is actually a recipe to again get entangled in the content. Let's not worry about that right now. Whether it is going to remain our conscious experience or whether it's going to pass away, who cares? You, as that vastness, doesn't need to experience itself permanently, whatever that means. The concept of temporary and permanent are irrelevant. This this is the most immediate perception. And after this perception or within this perception, everything else is perceived. So the whole content that was pointed to just let be for the moment is within this. We can call it I, the impersonal I. We can call it awareness. There are many names to it. And all those names are also within it. Being this is more natural than breathing. I don't need to remember to breathe. It's even confirmed with an experience that I do not do breathing. And when I am using the word I right now, this I is this human body mind organism sitting on the couch called Gurleen. I do not do the breathing. Breathing goes on. I'm not in charge. And being this vast, boundaryless, here-ness is more intimate and more natural, more effortless than even breathing. It is here choicelessly. I am here choicelessly. Even this sense of person, with all her simplicities and complexities, is here choicelessly. And this choicelessness, when recognized as it is, without the concept of not being able to make a choice and I'm stuck or I'm imprisoned, there is no other way to be, when all these concepts and interpretations are not there anymore, and when this choicelessness is seen through, recognized for what it is, really, that is freedom. It is in the recognition that nobody is the doer, nothing is going on personally. And when I am not doing anything, the thoughts, the feelings, the words, the actions, health, disease, they all seem to arise within and through me. The same seems to be going on through the seeming other. So then who does what? Who do I blame for the bad? And who do I credit for the good? What does good and bad now mean when it's not personal anymore? When it's not about me, it's not adding or taking anything away from me, then what is good and what is bad? Anger arises, suffering arises, pain arises. It doesn't feel good. And there is an inherent preference for it to not arise anymore or for it to go away. But can or does it need to be labeled bad for that? Does it take anything away from you in the existential sense of who you are? Can the content even touch the vastness, the here-ness, the awareness that is here, that you are, whatever the quality of the content may be? Whether the content dictates that I am the king of the world, or whether the content dictates that things are painful and unhealthy in the content. Can the content really affect the awareness? This can be confirmed in this moment experientially. Really, the content that if you were able to just let be right now within you, it can be confirmed that the content is perceived and arising within the sense of awareness that you are. And from that vantage point, nothing is really going on. So then where comes the need of detachment? Who needs to detach? From this context, the content itself needs to detach from content, because awareness is already untouched and untouchable. So then what do we need to solve here? Is there any problem? Is there anything missing? And this recognition of you being the sense of awareness, the sense of here-ness beyond the content, is also labeled as freedom. You're free of the content, from the content, whether the content includes suffering, whether the content includes bliss, whatever the content includes, you're already free from it. Whether the content includes clinging to anything or resisting anything, which actually would be suffering, is also within the sense of you impersonally. Even if this recognition just lasts a moment, again, using the word moment lightly because the recognition happens to be timeless. But even if it fades away and the conscious experience all again becomes about the content, and I become the one in the content identified with that one, and maybe even suffering. But is it possible to forget this? Is it possible to unsee what was seen? Maybe it remains in the memory. Maybe it intensifies the suffering even because now I want it back. That's another layer of suffering on top of what was going on before the recognition. In whatever form it penetrates the content. But is it possible to forget it? And who would forget it? Even the forgetting of it is arising and playing out within it. Just like I don't need to remember to breathe, breathing goes on. Even in my sleep, breathing goes on, apparently. Who knows? But something just breathes, or something breathes. It's not that someone is breathing, breathing in itself is happening. Just likewise, this already is, whether it is remembered or forgotten by itself. It still is. Whether the experience is full of ignorance and forgetfulness of what or where this experience is stemming from, or whether it is fully dissolved in its source. Both of these and everything in between are also the content of the experience arising within it, untouched by the content. So the one that wants to stabilize in it, dissolve in it, become one with it, there are many ways to express this longing, is also what is appearing in the content presently. So just like anything else within the content, can this longing also be let be as it is and not tampering with it, not moving with it? It's just arising, just like wanting to drink water. It's as natural as that. When the whole spectrum of duality, as we call it, but the whole spectrum of experience of not just what goes on in the events or the arisings, but also the interpretations of those events and arisings, when including all of that within the umbrella of content. So when the whole content can just be labeled as what is, regardless of what the quality of the content might be, that really is detachment. And that is what may be a facilitator of recognizing what's beyond the content. When there are entanglements that are a part of the content, within the content, with the content. So when I am seemingly entangled with my relationships or health or money or whatever the other um, that I am entangled with may be, when that is strong And again, that is a natural, innocent arising, nothing wrong with it. It may seem unavailable to really even seem interested in this um, quest of looking of what really is alive, what really is going on. Those questions just seem like, why do you care? Like, just live. And that's perfectly okay too, because I'm happy in the entanglements. They are yummy. They just don't take away and only give suffering. They are pleasurable too. There are many forms of pleasure that I get from even suffering. So until that's the case, that is what the content is. But even while that content is playing out, it is here. It is already within which that whole drama and play is playing out majestically with its full power. So the point here being that there is no point in pointing out that this is good or this is bad, this should be and this shouldn't be. It just is as it is, choicelessly. Even my interpretation of it or attitude towards it, whether I am okay with whatever is arising or whether I am clinging to whatever is arising, assuming it's pleasurable, or whether I'm resisting what's arising, assuming that it's painful or suffering. Even that is an arising within this. So even that attitude or that perception and that energy from which the experience or the arising is experienced is choiceless. And when that is recognized, you're already free. The clinging and resistance may still go on or not, but you're out of it. We are not out of it by wanting to be out of it. We want to be out of it is also an arising, which is seen and perceived from that which is already out of it. And these sound like a bunch of words which may even make no sense. But if they are reaching and landing somewhere as an experiential pointing, well, that's it. We are free to forget these words and just remain where they landed. This recognition is not the goal. It's not even an achievement, because the one who would want to put a flag down saying, oh, I achieved it, is already within the content, wanting to claim what is beyond itself. And this one never gets it. This recognition may very well be the beginning, the initiation, from where the content and the one living in the content, so this human person called Gurleen, as that recognition happens, can now start to align with this recognition choicelessly, again, may or may not. And nothing is needed anyway. But this may very well be a movement that might be observed as the recognition happens. The things, the movements, the arisings, and their mechanics that used to create entanglements within the system, now with the power, the clarity, and the grounding of that recognition, can be seen through. And as these mechanisms are seen through, it's not that they're good or bad or they need to be solved or just let be. All of those may or may not happen, again, choicelessly. However, it just starts to stop making sense anymore, to be complicated, or to be looking for reward out there. Because all these mechanisms are really built in with a core that really is a sense of lack, that believed that it can be filled or fulfilled from out there, with love, with respect, with fame, with being right, or being knowledgeable, being enlightened, even. So, being a sage, being perfect, being a good person, whatever the agenda may be, but really reverse engineered the core of every entanglement. If it creates clinging or resistance, it's basically coming from a place of needing to be fulfilled from out there. And as that recognition of knowing what you are, and that being inherently all there is and already fulfilled, and nothing being missing at all, really, literally, this deep rooted existential sense of lack cannot function anymore as it could or would before. There's just a mismatch now. It starts to lose its ground, and it may seem to be very disorienting and challenging, and even may seem like, oh shit, I am suffering more than ever before. And how is this helping? How is this recognition helping? But that is the help, if we want to use that word. The help is that it is crumbling now. And yes, I, as this person, have always, as far as I can remember, have operated from this vantage point of lack. And now when it is shifting and it is really falling away gradually or suddenly, or in moments it is even reacting more, and in moments it's just surrendered. Many movements can happen, and it may seem like, what's going on? Well, that is where understanding and recognizing and coming back to the perception that this is also the content playing out the way it is can really be a soothing ointment to this injury in a way, because it is healing now, for the lack of a better word. It cannot be lacking anymore. So all those inherent may not be the right word, but all those deep-rooted mechanisms of seeking approval, seeking a praise, anything, seeking love, seeking completeness from out there in the flow of life, in the content. So the content seeking fulfillment from the content just doesn't make sense anymore. And there may be a very well tug of war even that may go on until the natural, the effortless way of being really sets in and penetrates the whole movement of experiencing as this person even. And it may seem like that the person is shifting or changing or things are falling away. Well, the things that were causing or were coming from a place of suffering will shift. Maybe not outwardly, but the inherent or the deep-rooted motivation or intention behind them will shift. They have to shift for there to be an alignment with who you are and who you live as. And that doesn't mean that the person is going to be flawless now. That doesn't mean that the person is never going to be angry now or never going to be feeling pain anymore. If anything, the person may become even more sensitive to all these things than before. What may fall away is the sense of lack, that something is missing and something needs to be fulfilled from whatever, from even being enlightened. Even that movement falls away. Nobody needs to be enlightened anymore. And that may be what the sages call enlightenment. When seen through this, it's really funny. It's a funny, funny game. But when not seen through it, it is, what on earth is going on? And surely so. That is why the game is so interesting and engaging. Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? One of the things that we as this body mind organism may have a tendency set in, and we could credit it to our conditioning system, the education system. We are taught and we have learned to reach a conclusion prematurely and then move on to the next topic. This is done, what's next? And while we do this almost in everything in life, we start lacking the patience and the curiosity, even to understand something deeply or to become aware of something deeply. We are so good at, or so habitual at reaching a conclusion prematurely without really knowing whether we have looked through it well enough to be satisfactorily say, okay, let's move on. That may become a reason of this doubt, self-doubt even, because I may have come to conclusions, may have built opinions based on those conclusions, or even may have conscious or unconscious beliefs out of those conclusions. But this sense of self-doubt will remain because I haven't looked through something well enough before reaching the decision or the judgment. Coming to conclusion prematurely is really what we can call judgment also. And we are habituated to do that as humans. So this may be a movement that we may become aware of, that where am I coming to conclusions? And really being curious, not that it's bad if I'm doing that, because now we know it's all happening choicelessly. But just being curious that where am I half-heartedly aware? Where am I judging? Whether it's myself or the other or life or politics, whatever the topic may be. Do I understand it well enough to form an opinion? And what is well enough? Is there ever a point where I can reach and say, okay, now I know everything? Is it possible to know everything on even a single topic? The answer may come that no, it's not possible. Everything, whatever topic we can take, it is endless. So then, does that mean that we form no conclusions or we have no opinions? Should we just not, like, then how do we have conversations with people? We will have to say yes or no to something. Do you want coffee? Oh, no, I don't have an opinion on that. It's not about that. But really, a curious investigation into the premature conclusions that our system may have developed over time may contribute to a very natural recognition that they are just opinions, or another word for it would be concepts. They're not truths. So any opinion that I may hold is subject to my awareness on this topic at this moment. And that awareness includes the biases and the neutral thinking patterns also. So when that is seen, the sense of being right no matter what can weaken. And that convincing battle that goes on in conversations many times, we may find ourselves wanting to convince the other one of something, and there's nothing wrong with it. That's how we learn together. That's how we update as psychological mechanisms. Um, but that deep-rooted motivation that wants to be right because it knows it's right, because the opinion or the conclusion is held on to so tightly that there is no room for speculation around it, well, then the conversation is already one-sided. I'm not here to learn anything because I think I know everything. And I think you're stupid. That's why I'm teaching you right now, because your opinion doesn't matter here. And that shows judgment and pride. So just being able to curiously investigate that, where am I holding a tight concept which cannot be wrong, or it may cost me my belief system or my identity or the way I live or who I am. And if it's possible to come to a place where it can be just seen as a concept, it can still be used as a very important concept based, it can still be a concept based on which I live. Be kind to others. That's the concept. And if I live by that, it's pleasurable to me, and mostly it's pleasurable to others. So it might be a very useful concept. But does that keep me, or does that contribute to me judging the unkind, or the whatever I perceive as unkind? Because then that concept might not be a concept. It might be a blind spot where I use that to project my sense of lack on the other. Well, I'm kind, you're unkind. And that is very well a signal that the sense of lack is very much playing still. All of this pointing out and investigation and curiously becoming aware of the content by the content is the process of simplifying the content enough that the alignment of who you really are and who you're living as, for it to take place. And an investigation can only come from curiosity when this recognition, whether conscious or not, I may not even know that this recognition has taken place. But if someone is um, somewhat unbiased and neutral about a personal investigation of their own, um, it has to come from a place of detachment. And detachment is naturally available as there is space between me, the content, and who I really am. Because whether the content changes or not, whether the content is good or not, whether the content is in alignment or not, even doesn't matter to who you really are. You already are that. And that is the base of detachment and wisdom, the ingredients needed for suffering to fall away. So the recognition of yourself as you are momentarily or seemingly permanently is really the beginning of the suffering to crumble. It may happen instantaneously, or it may keep on happening slowly and gradually, and maybe even so gradually and slowly that you might not even be aware of if something's going on, if something's changing or not. But the processes that come from the sense of lack definitely start to become more and more and more painful as this recognition has happened, until a point is reached where the pain is a lot more than the reward that these mechanisms used to provide. And that's when the revolution may begin. Well, it's all revolutionary, even from before that. This, whatever this is wow. Revolutionary is not even the word for it. It's just, what is it? The hows and the whys and the whens are so irrelevant. So, yeah, insufficient to really address whatever this is. All that can be accurately understood or said or pointed to about this is that this, use whatever word you want to use here, God or consciousness or awareness, I, you, we, but this is, and that's it. What else can be confidently confirmed about this? This just is. And even those words do not do justice to this. They are just the most accurate words that can be said about this. And yet they do not cover this. And this unfathomability, or this unfathomable nature of this, is what becomes the catalyst to the choiceless surrender of the person who went on the quest believing and wanting to achieve the total understanding, thinking that total understanding means that I can understand this. No, it's a dead end. That quest is a dead end. But this is not dead. The concept of dead and alive are within this. If there were to be a total understanding, something, some knowing or some concept that could be labeled as, okay, this is total understanding, probably would be that it cannot be understood. It cannot be understood by a human mechanism. And yet, when it is recognized, and in that recognition of yourself as you are, that you are, being that, and understanding that, or knowing that, are not two. And that beingness or knowingness cannot be expressed with words. And if I, as a person come here and say, I understand it, that's a lie. That's ignorance. And that's again coming from the place of sense of lack, thinking that it is now fulfilled from out there by understanding something that it is not. So don't celebrate if we think we understand it. Uh-oh. Nope. And even if that happens, not to forget, it's the choiceless arising that's arising within the content. So nothing wrong with any of it. And the purpose of pointing that out again and again is to really um, cut through. Hopefully, that's the intention really for these words. To cut through the place that is so habituated and trained to say, oh no, I don't want to be unenlightened, or I don't want to be suffering, or I don't want to be in pride or judgment, but that I don't want to be in whatever, or I want to be in whatever, is also coming from that sense of lack, of wanting and not wanting, or clinging and resisting, thinking that if it doesn't do that, or if it does do that, or if that happens, or if that doesn't happen or stops happening, it's going to be fulfilled. And that is already coming from an assumption that it is unfulfilled, that it is separate, that there is something missing. And that is the suffering itself. There is nothing missing. Even the sense of being missing, or even the sense of something being missing, is available in this nothing missingness. Like, even that's not missing. That's how free it is. That even the sense of being bound can play. That's how free it is. Recognizing that where we started the talk, by arriving here, that is still here. Topics changed, and expressions changed, and emotions went up and down, and things made sense and made no sense, and all of that played out. And this that you are, that is still here throughout all of this, that is playing, pleasurably or painfully. And whether I'm okay with it or not is also playing out within this. whether I like it or not, is also playing within this. Mhm. I don't remember the whole song, but that song that says everything's gonna be all right. What if it is already all right? Is that a possibility right now? Whatever may be playing out within me, is it possible to entertain the idea that everything is all right already? With this recognition, the concept and the idea of hope dies because it's not needed. Hope implies that things will be better in the future, whatever future means. That in some coming present moment, things will be better than what they are right now. And that's hopeful. And it is needed at a certain point. But what if? What if? There's no need to be hopeful because all there is already here as it is, without needing to be tampered with or all the tampering even allowed. And not taking these words home as something to believe or something to repeat, but just as playing ideas. What if thought experiments, if they stay, if they're forgotten right after this moment, that's even better because then we can be fresh even with whatever arises. Well, that is me for today, tonight, whatever time is there where you are. And I would love to open the space for all of you now, if there's any arisings that you feel like expressing. You can raise your, oh, there we go. We have Rango.
Hi, Gordon.
Hello, Rango. How are you?
Very nice.
It's
Very
good to
nice.
see you. A little sore throat.
Also me.
Yeah. But otherwise, all well.
Funny weather this spring. little bit cold, and then it was a bit warm.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, at the beginning, I was very easily slipped into this place of when there is no experience. So better said, when I'm totally free from experience. But that is not the case in my usual experience, especially in meditation. Because what is happening at the beginning, when I'm going to that peace, to the deeper place, I feel like my energy is arising and there is some sort of bliss. But then this energy, this bliss, is countering some inner energies. Like I feel it, they are contracted, very constricted, like blockages in the body. So for a while, they are struggling. There is a struggle between those two, like very contracted energies and this feeling of bliss of energy. And then probably what is happening, I just surrender. And I got pushed in a way into that place of no experience. But never this process is like going very easily. I always struggle in a way. So I wonder, should I be maybe going to the other direction, maybe going straight to really feel these stuck energies and maybe going deeper into it. I tried a few times that, but I never really got to that place. So I'm usually doing other approaches to address this question. Tantra approach, yoga approach, it helps. But I think it is very superficial. I think probably there is no uh, capacity to go all the way to the deepest place. So maybe a word of advice from you.
Well, that's amazing to hear that all these wonderful things are happening for you and that struggle is surrendered to and can be surrendered to. That's a wonderful place to be in already. And what I would want to say to this is that when that experience or that surrender is going on, so when you're in that meditative experience, the clarity comes. So now, as you're mentioning that sometimes you feel like going deeper into the other direction, um, in that moment, when that intention arises, maybe there may come a time when that intention moves further all on its own. Like you don't have to drive it. It may already be powerful enough. Like before, there used to be struggle and there used to be struggle with the struggle, and then now the struggle with the struggle has surrendered, and you see that it's easier to witness the struggle and it even subsides. So all these, as you just are focused on being here available as you are, um, as awareness, when you are here for anything that arises, so any movement that's needed to whether go deeper or whether turn away or whether just come back to yourself, whatever the movement may be needed in that arising or in that experience will be provided to you. So I would rather listen and be aware in that moment rather than listen to what I have to say or anybody else has to say about that, really.
Yeah, usually what's happening, teachers coming into my head and tell me go deeper into the piece.
Yeah.
The,
Yeah,
okay.
it will happen automatically if that's what's that's what needs to happen. So whatever is needed for you or for that meditation to fruit to fructify as whatever it needs to be will happen because you already have the understanding intellectually, and you have the recognition. The recognition has happened for you. That's all the guidance that's needed, really. So it's just a matter of, yeah, just being here available for whatever goes on.
And trusting the process, basically.
Yes, exactly. And even if there is no trust for the process, just trusting that too. Yeah, letting that distrust be. You're welcome. Thank you, Rango. Well, lovely beings, thank you for your time today. Thank you for joining. And I'll see you next Sunday. Love you all.